Hi, I'm Pat Kiernan. Good Thursday morning to you. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Pat's Papers. We go through the nation's newspapers every weekday to pick some of our favorites for you. Here's what we found for you today. The big story in the Washington Post is the $790 billion spending bill approved in conference committee last night. The bill includes tax breaks, investments in health care funding for shovel-ready projects, and local government aid. The Post concludes the bill was remarkably similar to the broad outline Barack Obama painted a month ago. In a front-page news analysis, the New York Times calls this a quick, sweet victory for the new president, but the Times notes President Obama's inability to win over Republicans is going to be a problem. The Los Angeles Times, with a good summary of the stimulus deal, the Times lists tax breaks, credits, a special extension of unemployment benefits to 46 weeks from 26, and for high unemployment states, including California, benefits are extended to 59 weeks. Congressional leaders grilled leading bank CEOs yesterday. This report comes from the Charlotte Observer. Bank of America CEO Ken Lewis's hometown daily. The paper notes Lewis highlighted B of A's $115 billion in new loans since receiving $45 billion from the feds. The paper does note that Lewis and the 7 other bank titans either took trains or commercial flights to get to D.C., not their private jets. At the bottom of page 1 of the Washington Times, the 200th birthday of Abraham Lincoln and how people turned to his legacy in times of difficulty. One Lincoln historian commented, "There's no better president than Lincoln to look at as a model of leadership in crisis." The oldest paper in the land of Lincoln, the Springfield State Journal-Register, covers Lincoln's 200th birthday with profiles of local residents who are experts on the 16th U.S. president. One example is a local history teacher who grew up going to the great emancipator's home for picnics on Saturdays and developed an encyclopedic knowledge of Honest Abe. On the front page of the Wall Street Journal, a collision in space. 2 satellites destroyed when they crashed into each other. One was an active commercial satellite used for the Iridium satellite phone service. The other was a long-crippled Russian satellite. Experts say this will increasingly be a problem as there gets to be more stuff up there. Things are more likely to hit each other. The satellite phone service is not affected because there are backup satellites in place. 20 people died Tuesday in Kabul, Afghanistan, during coordinated attacks on government ministries. This is reported in the Miami Herald and most major dailies. All 8 attackers were killed. A Taliban spokesman says the attack was retaliation for mistreatment of captured insurgents. Page 5 of the New York Daily News. The headline is 20 miles of horror. A pedestrian hit by one vehicle. A van came along. The driver didn't realize it. The injured man got caught up on the underside of the van, and it was 20 miles later before the body was discovered. There is a housing crisis in America for chickens. The Wall Street Journal says chicken farmers are finding they can't afford $500,000 worth of bills on their chicken houses. Many of them had built these houses to meet contracts with Pilgrim's Pride, which got into its own financial trouble last year and has been canceling contracts. In the Personal Journal section today, there's a story about a simple incentive to get people to quit smoking. Researchers find those who are paid to quit are more successful. In the big study involving General Electric employees, only 5% of those who tried and weren't paid were successful in quitting. The number rose to almost 15% for those who got a few $100s as an incentive. Ahead of Valentine's Day, there's plenty in the papers about love, like the article in the New York Times called Love at the Door, about the way love and convenience get confused when it comes to questions about living together. Finally, from the New York Times, tech columnist David Pogue, is Twitter a giant internet time waste, or is it actually the best thing ever? After long resisting, Pogue is Twittering now. He says it's amazing how quickly information comes back to you when you put a question out to your Twitter followers, except, of course, when they don't like your question. And then he says they will tell you that you're dopey. And that's a look at just some of what's in the newspapers this morning. We try to pick the highlights for you each day, but if you think there's a particular story we should have included, send us a comment. You can do that at patspapers.com, and there you will find links to the individual newspaper websites where you can read these stories in their entirety.